The Good Good Cup is back. We're going to break it down and make some predictions. Before we get started, just a little heads up. Today is going to be discussing some spoilers from the first episode of the Good Good Cup 2.0. So if you haven't watched that video yet, I recommend heading over to their channel, watching it first, and then coming on back and checking this one out. So Good Good is back with another Good Good Cup. Now, the first Good Good Cup went over quite well, in my opinion. I thought it was a really good idea to have a cumulative series where you built up points over time. Good Good never really does that. They don't really track their stats over time. So I thought the Good Good Cup was a really good idea, but it had a major problem, and that problem was a Quan problem, because in the end, Luke just kind of ran away with it. I know Grant tried to stay with him and tried to make it close, but it never really was close, and we knew that Luke, or we pretty much were sure that Luke was going to run away with it. In fact, he did. So there was a lot of discussion about what Good Good could do in order to rectify this problem if they did another Good Good Cup, which I think everyone wanted to see, but they had to address this problem. And some people thought, oh, handicaps. And, you know, we saw handicaps in the major with Bob Does Sports, so maybe that would work. But handicaps get messy, and it's hard to get them right. And I'm not even sure they got them right in the Bob Does Sports video. Let me know your thoughts on that one. Throw it down below. Do you think they got those handicaps right? But that's a discussion for another day. So then that begs the question, if you're not going to use handicaps, what is the solution? And I think Good Good has hit it out of the park with this ingenious solution of two-man teams, especially that they've designed the teams in such a way that they do appear to be pretty even. It's almost like a pro-am. You have an upper-tier player or a pro paired with a mid-tier player, and someone who's not so much a pro, more of an amateur. And if you look at it that way, I think these teams are actually pretty well balanced. Now, we're going to get into the specifics of the teams in just a moment, but suffice it to say, I think this solves a lot of their problems. Instead of going solo, making pairs. It's almost like a pro-am where you have a pro paired with an amateur, or in this case, an upper-tier player paired with a mid-tier player, because really, there's no one who's terrible on Good Good. They're all really good players, but this is definitely going to make it more competitive. So that is the first change they've made. The other changes maybe aren't as significant, but we'll go over them here. There's going to be 6 events leading up to a final 18-hole two-man event, and those 6 events are the Ryder Cup Mystery Event, which we saw in episode 1. We have a double elimination knockout, a Pick Your Poison event, a Heartbreaker event, T-Flip, my personal favorite, and alternate shot. Then the team that leading has the most points, or in this case, I guess they're going with cash. We'll talk about that again in a moment. We'll start the final episode at 6 under par. This team in second place is going to start at 4 under par, third place 2 under par, and then last place is even par to start. Now, will this work out? It's dangerous again that we're going to have a runaway situation. I think it's going to be closer. I mean, the team that finishes 4th, it's going to be really hard for them to make up ground. But then again, the argument goes, because they didn't perform as well in the first 6, should they be in it? Well, it should probably take a miracle for them to get back in it. So I'm not opposed to the format here, but it does beg the question, will one team run away with it? Will the team that's been hot the whole time and pick up those 6 strokes continue to be hot in the final 18? Or will it be kind of like last year's FedEx Cup where, Rory McIlroy tracks down Scotty Scheffler? It can happen and it can be really exciting. So time will tell. I'm not opposed to the format. I kind of like it. Now, they did say they're playing for money. Instead of points, they're giving out money for each of the events that they win. And then they're playing for whatever money they accumulate over the first 6 events. That's what they're going to win if they win the final event. To me, this is inconsequential completely. I think they're basically, unless I'm missing something completely, they're basically playing for their own money. So, I mean, it's fun. It's a good idea, but I think the money is meaningless. However, the format, I think, is a big step up from the original Good Good Cup. All right, let's break down the 4 teams. First of all, we have Garrett and AJ, probably the most balanced team of the 4. I would say of the upper tier players, Garrett is probably the lowest of the 4. However, the way he's been playing, and again, here's a spoiler for the first episode, Garrett played better than anyone. So if he plays up to that potential, that team's going to be really, really hard to beat. And I think AJ is probably the best of the mid-tier players, if we can even call him that, because he's quite a baller. So this team is one to be reckoned with for sure. Next up, we have Matt and Brad. Now, I should say this up front. I've never been a huge Matt Sharp fan. I like his golf swing. I think it's a smooth tempo, but some of his antics on the course, for me personally, it just haven't jived well. However, I will say this, in this first video, I liked this Matt. I thought his jokes were on point. They were more subtle. He had a great attitude, and it actually made me want to cheer for him probably for the first time. Maybe not the first time, but it's one of the few times I found myself rooting for Matt, and I thought Brad was great too. So personally, I'm rooting for that team after the first episode. We'll see if they can keep up that good connection that they have going. Team number 3 is Bubby and Ben Haddon. Now, this seems to be in the comments one of the fan favorites. There are a lot of comments saying they think Bubby and Ben are going to do very well and that they love the Bubby-Ben combo. It's fine. I'm not against the Bubby-Ben combo. I personally don't see the draw. It's not my cup of tea, but huge fanfare in the comments for Bubby and Ben. They didn't do so well on the first episode. In fact, they finished last. And they really had a hard time kind of gelling, but there's lots of episodes to go. So I wouldn't be surprised if they start to climb up and maybe win an event or two. And then we have Luke and Steve, Team Backpack, which we're familiar with because they've been pairing up a lot lately in Good. So those are the teams. All right, now let's make some predictions on how we think this is going to end up at the end of the Good Cup. And I'm curious to know what your thoughts are because these are just mine. So fire your thoughts into the comments below and let us know, who do you think is going to win? Which pairing do you think is going to fare the best in the Good Cup 2.0? Obviously, after the first episode, we know Garrett and AJ are off to the lead, but are they going to hold on to it, or is someone going to track them down? Really interested to hear your thoughts. So again, fire them into the comments and let's get that discussion started. For me, as I look at these teams, I'm looking at the course. I think the course is a tighter course than we often see on Good. There's quite a bit of trouble, as we saw, at least on these 6 holes that we saw in the opening video. There's quite a bit of trouble. We already saw quite a few lost balls. And I think guys who can have trouble with accuracy are going to struggle. So namely, I think Steve and I think Bubby are going to be in trouble. Bubby's been playing lights out lately, and he hits it a country mile. But around the greens, not so hot, not the best putter. I mean, he can get hot, but his short game is so-so. These greens seem pretty small and hard. And again, if he's not putting his driver on the fairway, I don't know how effective or helpful he's going to be to Ben. So I'm worried about that team. I know a lot of people in the comments have said, yeah, Ben and Bubby, they're going to make a charge, and maybe they will. Maybe they'll prove me wrong. But right now, my gut is telling me they're going to finish bottom half of the pack. And I think the same is going to be for Luke and Steve, unfortunately. I think Luke can carry a lot, but Steve is just too inconsistent. I love Steve. I think he's got a great personality. He's fun to watch. However, I don't see it, especially like in challenges like T-flips. We could end up seeing a lot of Steve shots needing to be used. And on a course like this, that seems pretty challenging. I think it's a big ask. So that leaves 2 teams, Matt and Brad, and then Garrett and AJ. And I'm actually going to go with Matt and Brad. I don't know what it is. It's probably wiser to pick Garrett and AJ, especially since we know that they're leading and they probably are the most balanced team. But there's something about that Matt and Brad team. And I think with Matt, with a good mindset, with a good partner, a good fun partner, keeping things light, I think they're going to do some damage. So that's my prediction. Let me hear yours, comments below. And just for the full picture, I'm going to go with Matt and Brad first, Garrett and AJ second, Bubby and Ben in 3rd place, and then Luke and Steve, Team Backpack, picking up the rear and finishing in 4th. So those are my predictions. Let me know yours. It's time for Well Said, the segment of the show where we go over some of the user comments that you posted on the Good video that I thought were clever or funny or both. Dre said, 2-man teams was the perfect answer to the group skill gaps. Great stuff. That's exactly the point that I was thinking earlier, and I totally agree with you, Dre. This was the perfect solution, so kudos. Well done. Good. Mr. Keep said, Quan and Steve is the duo we didn't think we needed, but now we can't get enough of. Well said. Absolutely. They're so much fun to watch. In fact, it probably led to one of my favorite moments. And KC and ZCB said, quote, I need more insight into the Team Backpack's pre-talk routine. Steve's a misunderstood genius. And this was my favorite moment. Let's take a look.
Let's have a little pre-talk routine right here.
Pre-shot routine?
No, pre-talk, because we're talking.
So we should have talked before this talk.
Well, you haven't got to your pre-shot routine, brother. So you're going to hit the fairway, and you're going to make a birdie.
I love that plan.
And I'm going to watch.
I just love Quan here. So we should have talked before the talk. Because the way Steve has phrased it, that's exactly what should have happened. The pre-talk talk. But great stuff. Love that. Love Quan's humor. fantastic. Orange Zebra said, I always love how everyone talks to Max like the Grinch does. Isn't that funny? Max, of course, one of the cameramen, and how they kind of, just bark at Max. Thought that was pretty hilarious. Aussie Boy Studio said, quote, inspiration from the goggles. You guys should do a challenge with dizzy goggles on the whole time. Would be a good video. Couldn't agree more. I don't know how much the guys would like it, but that would be entertaining. Even if they did it only for 3 holes or something like that, it would be pretty fun to watch. And we're going to end with David's comment. He says, let's go, boys. That intro was mwah. Seriously, nobody is doing golf entertainment like these guys, not even the tour. And I agree. Maybe, caveat, maybe Rick Shields. Some of his stuff is pretty well produced as well, but these guys are top notch. So some final thoughts to wrap up. I really like where this is going. I was a big fan of Grant, and when Grant left Good, I kind of struggled a little bit. I still watch them, but I was missing Grant. Micah, personally, not so much. But with Grant gone, I felt there was something lacking. With this video series, though, I could see that turning around. I really enjoyed episode 1. Really looking forward to the next 5 leading up to the finale. And I'm looking forward to seeing how we did in our predictions. Thanks for checking out today's video. And if you want to follow along, don't forget to hit subscribe and like and all that wonderful stuff. And we'll catch you next time on Golf Quest.